Welcome, dear friend, to Sleep Documentary TV, your quiet harbor in the long dark night. I am so glad you are here. You have found your way to a place of rest, a place to let the weight of the day simply drift away like a feather on a gentle breeze. There is nothing left for you to do now but to breathe and to listen. Let's take one more breath together. A slow, conscious breath in, feeling the cool air as it enters, and a long, peaceful breath out, feeling the gentle release. Good. Your body knows what to do. It knows the ancient rhythm of rest. All you need to do is allow it. Tonight, we are going to travel back in time, not with a jolt or a start, but as if we are drifting on a quiet river back to a world that existed just beyond the reach of living memory. A world that was defined not by the flick of a switch, but by the slow, deliberate setting of the sun. Our river has reached its destination. The air around you feels different now. It is cooler, carrying the scent of coal smoke, damp earth, and distant horses. The year is 1854. We are in the small, bustling town of Milan, Ohio. The world is a tapestry woven with threads of light and shadow, and the shadows are deep and long. When the sun dips below the horizon, the world transforms. The sharp edges of the day soften into a murky gloom. Life, for most, shrinks to the size of a single room, illuminated by the soft, flickering dance of a candle's flame or the gentle golden glow of an oil lamp. Fire is the only weapon against the night. It is a demanding and fickle friend. It hisses and spits. It must be fed and watched. It licks at the edges of things, casting dancing, distorted shadows that play tricks on the eyes. The light it gives is a living thing, breathing in and out, never truly still. In the grander homes of the cities there is gaslight, a modern marvel. It hums a gentle, constant tune from brass fittings on the walls, casting a brighter, more reliable, yet still somehow ghostly, pale yellow glow. But it too has its price. It can be temperamental, and it carries a faint, chemical smell, a constant reminder of its volatile nature. For the vast majority of people, the rhythm of life is bound to the sun. You rise with its first light, you work through its golden arc, and as it begins its descent, you prepare for the coming of the night. The evening is a time for winding down, not because of choice, but because of necessity. Reading is a luxury, a straining of the eyes by the weak and flickering light of a candle. Mending clothes, writing letters, or any task requiring fine detail becomes a challenge, a race against the melting wax or the dwindling oil. The night is a time for stories told in hushed tones around the hearth, for sleep, for dreams. The world, in essence, is put on pause, waiting for the permission of the dawn to begin again. In this world of flickering light and deep shadow lives a young boy. His name is Thomas, but his family calls him Al. He is not like the other children. He is quiet, intensely curious, and his mind is a whirlwind of questions. He is partially deaf, a consequence of a bout of scarlet fever. And this partial silence has turned his focus inward. He doesn't always catch the words that are spoken, but he sees everything. He notices the way the light from the window catches the dust motes dancing in the air. He observes the intricate patterns of a spider's web in the corner of the barn. He watches and he wonders. His mother Nancy is his greatest champion. She understands that his mind works differently. When his school teacher declares him adult, she takes him out of school and decides to teach him herself. She reads to him from the great books of science, history, and literature. She encourages his endless questions, never treating them as a nuisance, but as the sparks of a brilliant fire within him. She gives him a chemistry set, and the basement of their home becomes his first laboratory, a place of strange smells, bubbling concoctions, and the occasional small, harmless explosion. It is his sanctuary, a place where the world of ideas feels more real than the world outside. Now let us imagine the moment, the inciting spark. It isn't a grand earth-shaking event. It is a small, quiet, and deeply personal thing, as the most powerful inspirations often are. One evening a fierce winter storm has descended upon the town. The wind howls like a mournful animal, and the snow falls in thick heavy sheets, burying the world in a pristine silent white. Inside the Edison home, the family is gathered in the main room. The fire in the hearth crackles and roars, a defiant bastion of warmth against the cold that seeps through the window panes. Young Al's mother, Nancy, is sitting in her favorite chair, her face etched with a weariness that the firelight cannot quite erase. She has been unwell, a lingering cough, and a fever that comes and goes, leaving her tired and weak. The doctor had come earlier in the day, his face grim. He had left medicine, but he had also left a warning. She needed absolute rest, and she needed to be kept warm. The storm has made the world outside impassable, cutting them off. They are alone with the illness, and the night Al sits on a small stool near the fireplace, watching his mother. He sees the way her chest rises and falls with each labored breath. The only other light in the room comes from a single oil lamp on a small table beside her. Its flame is a small trembling teardrop of gold in the vast darkness of the room. It flickers and sways with every draft that sneaks through the floorboards. One moment his mother's face is illuminated, and he can see every line of concern. The next, a shadow falls, and she is almost lost to the gloom. He watches as his father carefully gets up to trim the wick of the lamp. A delicate operation. If you trim it too short, the light is weak and pathetic. Too long and it sputters, producing a greasy black smoke that stings the eyes and coats the ceiling with soot. Tonight the flame seems particularly stubborn. It casts long dancing shadows that make the familiar furniture look like strange, lurking beasts. The weak, unsteady light seems to mock their efforts to create a space of comfort and healing. Young Al feels a sense of helpless frustration welling up inside him. The world is full of wonders. He has read about the telegraph, that magical wire that can send messages flashing across the country in an instant, powered by the invisible force of electricity. He has mixed chemicals in his basement that can change color and form in the blink of an eye. Science is a force of immense power, a tool for bending the world to your will. So why, he wonders, must they be slaves to this pathetic little flame? Why must the comfort and care of his beloved mother depend on a piece of burning string soaking in oil? The flame in the lamp dips precariously, and in the momentary near darkness he hears his mother let out a soft, pained cough. A wave of fear, cold and sharp, washes over him. In that moment, the darkness is not just an inconvenience, it is an enemy. It is a thief that steals the precious hours of the evening. It is a cloak for uncertainty and fear. It is a suffocating blanket that makes a sick room feel more like a tomb. He looks from the flickering, unreliable flame to the steady, comforting glow of the embers in the hearth. He thinks about the sun, that glorious, unwavering source of light that banishes all shadows and brings the world to life. Why couldn't they have a small piece of the sun in their home, a light that was steady, reliable, and clean, a light that did not flicker or smoke, a light that you could summon with a simple touch, without the fuss of matches and oil and trimming wicks. The idea is not yet a scientific blueprint. It is a feeling, a deep, soulful yearning. It is a dream of a small boy who loves his mother and hates the darkness that seems to press in on her. He envisions a small glowing star, captured in a glass bottle, a clean, safe, and constant light, a light that could fill a room with the steady, reassuring brightness of a summer afternoon, even in the dead of a winter storm. A light that would allow a doctor to see properly, a mother to read to her child, a family to feel safe and connected long after the sun had surrendered to the night. That is the spark. It is not a flash of genius about filaments or vacuums. It is a simple human desire, born of love and fear. The desire to conquer the darkness, not for the sake of progress or profit, but for the sake of peace of mind, for the sake of the people you love. This seed, this quiet, desperate wish for a better kind of light finds fertile ground in the curious, determined mind of young Thomas Edison. It lies dormant for a time, buried under years of other experiments, other inventions, other curiosities, but it is there, a tiny glowing ember, waiting for the right moment, the right knowledge, the right resources to be fanned into a brilliant, world-changing flame. He doesn't speak of it to anyone. It is his secret, a silent promise he makes to himself in the flickering, inadequate light of that storm-tossed evening. He would find a way. He would capture the light. He would bring a small piece of the sun indoors, and he would banish the fearful, dancing shadows for good. The world would one day be filled with a light as steady and as comforting as a mother's love. And with that silent, heartfelt vow, a new chapter in human history, though no one yet knew it, had quietly, gently begun. The journey from that flickering flame to a steady, glowing wire would be long and arduous, path littered with 1,000 failures. But it all started here, in this quiet room, with a boy's love for his mother and his simple, profound dream of a brighter world. Years pass, as they always do. The river of time flows onward, carrying the young boy Al into manhood. The world continues its relentless spin, and with each rotation, the dream of that perfect steady light marinates in the back of his mind. Thomas Edison grows, and his name begins to be whispered in the halls of innovation. He is no longer just a curious boy in the basement. He is a force of nature, a whirlwind of energy and ideas. His mind, once a universe of private questions, is now a factory of practical inventions. He improved the telegraph, making it faster, more efficient. He invents a phonograph, a machine that can capture and replay sound, a device so magical that people call him the Wizard of Menlo Park. He establishes a revolutionary new facility in Menlo Park, New Jersey. It is not just a laboratory, it is an invention factory, a place where the messy, chaotic, and beautiful process of creation can be industrialized. It is a place built on the idea that innovation is not just a happy accident, but a process of discipline, relentless and systematic experimentation. Yet, through all these incredible successes, the memory of that dark, stormy night remains. The image of his mother's tired face in the flickering lamplight is a quiet, constant hum beneath the noise of his other achievements. The problem of light has not been solved. The world is still held hostage by the setting of the sun. The gas lights in the cities are a little brighter, but they are expensive, prone to leaks, and have caused terrible fires. For the average person in their home, the night is still conquered by the humble, smoky, and inefficient flame of an oil lamp or a candle. The dream of a clean, safe, electric light is not Edison's alone. Inventors all over the world are chasing the same phantom. They have created what are known as arc lamps. These devices produce a brilliant, dazzlingly bright light by passing a powerful electric current between two carbon rods, but they are too bright, too intense for a home. They are like having a miniature bolt of lightning in your living room. They hiss and sputter, consume enormous amounts of power, and burn out quickly. They are suitable for lighting a public square or a lighthouse, but they are not the intimate, gentle light that Edison had dreamed of as a boy. Edison knows the answer lies elsewhere. It lies in incandescence. The idea is simple, elegant, and fiendishly difficult. Find a material, a filament, that when you pass a small control electric current through it will glow brightly without melting or burning out. It needs to be a light that is subdivided, small and gentle enough for a single room, yet durable enough to last. A light for the people. And so the quiet obsession begins anew. The phonograph is a marvel, but it is a problem of light that truly captures Edison's soul. He declares to the newspapers with his characteristic brash confidence that he will have a practical electric lighting system ready within months. It is a promise that will haunt him. A public declaration that adds immense pressure to an already monumental task. The world is watching. The gaslight companies with their vast fortunes are watching, and they are betting on his failure. His notebooks, hundreds of them, begin to fill with the frantic looping script of a man possessed by an idea. Page after page is covered in sketches of bulbs, diagrams of circuits, and complex mathematical calculations. He draws hundreds of different shapes for the glass globe that will house the light. Some are round, some are pear-shaped, some are elongated and strange. He is not just designing a device, he is designing a new kind of star, a new kind of fire. He spends endless nights in his library, a vast room lined with thousands of books on every conceivable subject. He reads about metallurgy, chemistry, glass blowing, and the esoteric properties of rare metals. He is a sponge for information, soaking up the accumulated knowledge of centuries, searching for a clue, a hint, a forgotten piece of wisdom that might unlock the puzzle. His colleagues and assistants at Menlo Park see the change in him. The already driven inventor becomes even more focused, more consumed. They see the light on in his library at all hours of the night. They see him hunched over his workbench, his brow furrowed in concentration, surrounded by a chaotic mess of wires, batteries, and strange materials. Skepticism is a constant, unwelcome companion. The scientific establishment declares this goal of a high-resistance, long-lasting filament to be a fool's errand. It violates the known laws of physics, they say. It is impossible. Investors who had eagerly backed his earlier inventions become wary. The initial months of promised success stretch into a year, and then longer. The newspapers that once hailed him as a genius now mock him. They call his Menlo Park facility a place where money is burned on an impossible dream. He is a charlatan, they whisper, a wizard whose magic has finally run out. But Edison is a man built of stubborn resilience. His deafness has taught him to filter out the noise of the world, to trust his own inner voice. He has a philosophy that is simple and profound. Failure is not a destination, it is data. He famously says, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." And he means it. Each failed experiment, each material that burns out in a flash of brilliant but fleeting light is not a disappointment. It is a lesson. It is one more path that he now knows not to take. He begins the monumental task of testing every conceivable material for his filament. He starts with metals. Platinum seems promising. It has a very high melting point. He spends a fortune, an astronomical sum for the time, on platinum. He and his team work for months, drawing the precious metal into ever finer wires. They create delicate, intricate filaments shaped like spirals, horseshoes, and coils. They place them in a glass bulb and, using a complex and temperamental vacuum pump, they painstakingly remove the air. Without oxygen, the filament cannot burn. It can only glow. They run the current through. For a moment, a beautiful, steady light fills the bulb. It is the light he has dreamed of. But it is fleeting. The platinum, while strong, is not strong enough. After a few minutes, or perhaps an hour if they are lucky, it melts or breaks. The light vanishes, and the dream is once again plunged into darkness. They try alloys of platinum and iridium. They try silicon. They try boron. They try rare earth metals with exotic, musical name. Each one tells the same story, a brief, tantalizing flash of success, followed by the quiet finality of failure. The pile of shattered bulbs and burned-out filaments grows into a small mountain, a monument to their tireless and so far fruitless efforts. The emotional toll is immense. Oh, there are days of crushing doubt. The financial pressure mounts. The ridicule from the outside world stings. His team of dedicated muckers, as he affectionately calls them, grows weary. They work around the clock, fueled by coffee and Edison's own infectious, though sometimes strained, optimism. They see the long hours he puts in, sleeping on a cot in the corner of the laboratory for just a few hours a night. His dedication is their inspiration. And then there are the small breakthroughs, the quiet moments of discovery that are the lifeblood of any long journey. One day, while struggling with the vacuum pump, a new design allows them to create a better, more perfect vacuum inside the bulb. It is not the final answer, but it is a crucial step. A stronger vacuum means the filament is better protected, that it will last just a little bit longer. It adds a few more precious minutes to their experiments, giving them more time to observe, to learn. Another breakthrough comes not from a material, but from a simple, elegant idea. He realizes that the problem is not just the material itself, but its resistance to the electrical current. The scientific consensus is that a low-resistance filament is the only way to go. But Edison, in a flash of counterintuitive brilliance, realizes they have it all backward. He needs a filament with a high resistance. A high-resistance filament would require much less current to make it glow. This would make the entire system more efficient, safer, and more economical. It is a conceptual leap that changes the entire direction of his research. He begins to look away from metals and towards a material that seems utterly absurd to his contemporaries: carbon. Carbon can withstand incredible heat, but how do you make a thin, uniform wire out of brittle, messy carbon? He tries everything. He takes a piece of ordinary sewing thread from his wife's sewing box. He carefully, painstakingly, bakes it in an oven until it is carbonized, a fragile black sliver. It is a delicate, almost hopeless task. The threads are so fragile they crumble to dust if you so much as breathe on them too heavily. For days he and his team work with the carbonized threads. They try to clamp them to the electrical contacts inside the bulb. Again and again, the delicate filaments break. It is maddening, frustrating work. It requires the steady hand of a surgeon and the patience of a saint. The laboratory falls into a quiet, intense rhythm. The sound of the whirring vacuum pump, the gentle clink of glass, the soft, frustrated sighs as another filament breaks. But in this long, arduous process of refinement, this endless journey of trial and error, the dream is slowly, imperceptibly taking shape. It is no longer just an idea on paper, a sketch in a notebook. It is becoming something tangible, something real. The path has been long, the failures have been many, but with every broken filament, with every shattered bulb, they are one step closer to capturing the light. They are on the very precipice of turning a simple boy's dream into a reality that will forever change the world. The journey through the darkness is almost over. The dawn is coming. The dream once a tender, fleeting wish in the heart of a boy, and then a chaotic storm of sketches and calculations on paper, is now ready to be born into the physical world. The abstract idea of a high-resistance filament, of a perfect vacuum, must now be translated into glass, metal, and fire. The intellectual struggle gives way to the symphony of making. Menlo Park, the invention factory, is no longer just a place of thought and theory. It becomes a workshop of creation, a vibrant, humming hive of tangible work. Thomas Edison knows he cannot do this alone. An idea, no matter how brilliant, is powerless without the hands to build it. He is a genius, but he is also a master of collaboration. He has a unique gift for finding people who are not just skilled, but who share his relentless, obsessive passion for solving the unsolvable. He gathers his team, his muckers, the loyal, tireless men who have been with him through the long nights of failure and the fleeting moments of hope. There is Charles Batchelor, his chief experimental assistant, an English mechanic with an almost artistic sensitivity to the delicate dance of machinery and materials. His hands are as skilled at drawing a fine wire as they are at drafting a complex schematic. He is the anchor, the steady hand that translates Edison's frenetic energy into precise, workable plans. There is Francis Upton, the brilliant mathematician and physicist, a man who can wrangle the unruly numbers and abstract laws of electricity into submission. He is the voice of scientific reason, the one who grounds the wilder flights of fancy in the solid earth of mathematical proof. And then there is the glassblower, Ludwig Boehm, a quiet, focused artisan from Germany, a man who speaks the ancient, secret language of molten glass. He is perhaps one of the most crucial members of the team now, for the vessel that will hold their star must be perfect, It must be strong enough to withstand the immense pressure of a near-perfect vacuum, yet clear and flawless, so as not to obscure the precious light within. The heart of Menlo Park becomes the glass-blowing house. It is a space of intense heat and profound quiet. The air shimmers above the great furnace, the glory hole which burns with a constant, roaring inferno, turning sand and minerals into a substance like captured sunlight, a thick, glowing, honey-like liquid. Let us linger here for a moment. In this cathedral of creation, imagine the scene. Ludwig Böhm stands before the furnace, his face beaded with sweat, illuminated by the orange glow. The only sounds are the roar of the fire and the gentle rhythmic turning of a long steel blowpipe in his hands. He gathers a blob of molten glass on the end of his pipe. It is a living thing, dripping and incandescent. He brings it from the fire, and a delicate, silent ballet begins. He rolls the pipe on a steel table, the marver shaping the viscous globe with a gentle practiced touch. Then he raises the pipe to his lips, and with a controlled, steady breath, he breathes life into the glass. A bubble appears, a perfect sphere of trapped air. He swings the pipe, using gravity to elongate the shape. He uses wooden paddles and tools, still damp from a bucket of water, to gently coax the glass into the familiar, pear-like shape that Edison has sketched in his notebooks. The wood sizzles and steams as it touches the hot glass, releasing the sweet, sharp scent of burning timber into the air. It is a process that is both immensely powerful and incredibly delicate. One wrong move, one breath too strong, and the beautiful, fragile shape will collapse or shatter. But under Böhm's masterful control, bulb after perfect bulb is born, each one a crystal-clear womb, waiting for its spark of life. While the glass vessels are being crafted, another symphony is playing out in the main laboratory. This is the symphony of the filament. The focus has shifted fully now to carbonized thread. The process is one of supreme patience. They begin with simple cotton thread, a spool of number 9 Clark's sewing thread. It is humble, domestic, a thing of mending and sewing, but it is about to be transformed. Bachelor and Edison work together for hours, hunched over a bench. They take a single strand of thread about 6 inches long and carefully bend it into a tight horseshoe shape. They then place this delicate loop into a nickel mold, a small covered crucible. The air is thick with anticipation. This is the most delicate stage of all. The mold is placed into the furnace and slowly, over a period of hours, it is brought to a blistering heat. The process has to be slow, methodical. If heated too quickly, the thread will simply turn to ash. But if done just right, the heat burns away all the volatile elements, all the hydrogen, the oxygen, the nitrogen, leaving behind nothing but a fragile, pure skeleton of carbon. When the mold is finally cool enough to open, it is a moment of quiet reverence. Edison gently lifts the lid. Inside, resting on a bed of powdered carbon, is the filament. It is a thing of impossible fragility. A tiny black, arching thread that looks as if it could be shattered by a harsh word. It is lighter than a feather, and its texture is a strange paradox, both smooth and slightly gritty. The challenge now is to move this delicate creation from its crucible and attach it to the platinum leaden wires that have been embedded in the glass stem of the bulb. This is a task that requires an almost meditative focus. They use tweezers made of fine bamboo. They barely breathe. The laboratory, usually a place of noise and energetic chatter, falls into a deep, profound silence. The only sound is the gentle ticking of the wall clock and the distant, rhythmic puffing of the steam engine that powers the vacuum pump. Dozens of the precious filaments break. They crumble into black dust. They snap as they are being tightened into the tiny clamps. Each failure is a small, sharp pang of frustration. But there is no shouting, no anger. There is only a quiet sigh, the gentle sweeping away of the carbon dust, and the beginning of the process all over again. It is a testament to the profound patience that is the true, unsung hero of invention. While the filaments are being prepared, other muckers are busy with the larger system. Wires are being run, batteries are being charged, and the magnificent vacuum pump, a complex contraption of glass tubes, mercury, and steel pistons, is meticulously maintained. The sound of this pump is the constant heartbeat of the laboratory. A rhythmic ka-thump, 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 a sound of air and mercury being pushed and pulled, a sound that promises the perfect emptiness, the void in which their light can be born. The workshop is a feast for the senses. The air is a cocktail of strange and wonderful smells, the hot, metallic scent of heated platinum, the sharp, clean smell of ozone from an electrical spark, the faint aroma of the oil used to lubricate the machinery, and the ever-present, earthy smell of coal, smoke from the furnace and the steam engine. Sunlight streams through the tall windows, illuminating the dust motes that dance in the air, catching the gleam of brass fitting, the deep rich brown of the wooden workbenches, scarred and stained from years of experiments. Edison is everywhere at once. He moves from the glass-blowing house to the filament bend to the vacuum pump, a whirlwind of focused energy. He is not a distant supervisor, his hands are as dirty as anyone's. He adjusts a valve here, inspects a newly blown bulb there, offers a quiet word of encouragement to a frustrated assistant. He sees the entire system in his mind, from the great dynamo that will generate the power, down to the tiniest, most fragile strand of carbon. It is a symphony, and he is its conductor. Every player, every instrument, from the roaring furnace to the silent, steady hand of Charles Batchelor, is essential to the final creation. Slowly, methodically, piece by piece, a complete light bulb is assembled, or a perfect, fragile carbon filament is successfully attached to the wires. The glass stem is fused to the main bulb by Böhm's expert flame. The completed bulb is then attached to the vacuum pump, and for hours, the machine rhythmically works, drawing out the air molecule by molecule until a near perfect vacuum is achieved. Finally, with a touch of a blowtorch, the glass at the bottom of the bulb is melted and sealed, forever trapping the void within. He sits there on the workbench, a simple, beautiful object, a clear glass bubble with a delicate black horseshoe of carbon at its heart. It is the culmination of thousands of hours of work, of fortune spent, of countless failures. It is the physical embodiment of a dream. It is silent, it is still, and it holds within it a breathtaking promise, the promise of a new kind of light. The workshop has done its job. The symphony of making has reached its final, quiet chord. Now, all that is left is to see if the music will play. The day arrives as all days do, with the soft grey light of dawn. But this is no ordinary day. October 21st, 1879. The air in Menlo Park seems to hold a different quality. a stillness, a quiet tension that even the chirping of the early morning birds cannot quite dispel. Inside the main laboratory, the frantic energy of the past months has subsided, replaced by a profound, shared sense of anticipation. The floor has been swept. The workbench is cleared. All the chaos of creation has been tidied away, leaving only the essential elements for the great test. Thomas Edison has been at work all night, as have his most trusted assistants. They move with a quiet, deliberate economy of motion, their faces pale in the lamplight that they hope to soon make obsolete. There are no grand pronouncements, no swelling crowds. This is not a performance, it is a quiet, intimate vigil, a private moment between the creators and their creation. On a central workbench, surrounded by a spider web of wires leading from a bank of humming batteries, sits the fruit of their labor. It is bulb number 9. So many others have preceded it. So many have failed. But this one feels different. The carbon filament, the humble piece of sewing thread, had survived the carbonization process perfectly. It had been attached to the platinum leads with an uncharacteristic ease, as if it were destined for this moment. The vacuum inside its glass home is the most perfect they have ever achieved. It sits in its simple brass holder, a small, unassuming object that carries the weight of 1,000 dreams. Edison stands before it, his hands clasped behind his back. He is not the brash, confident showman the newspapers so often portray. In this quiet moment, he is the boy from Milan, Ohio once again. The boy who sat by his mother's bedside, hating the flickering, unreliable darkness. He sees not a scientific apparatus, but the fulfillment of a silent, youthful promise. He looks at the faces of his team around him. Batchelor, Upton, the others. He sees the exhaustion in their eyes, but he also sees a flicker of hope, a shared belief that has carried them through so many crushing disappointments. They have poured their lives into this small glass globe. He gives a quiet nod to Upton, who stands by the controls, a simple rheostat that will allow them to apply the electric current gradually. The only sound in the room is the faint, high-pitched hum of the batteries and the ticking of the laboratory clock on the wall, each tick marking a moment of history, though they do not yet know it. "All right," Edison says, his voice soft, almost a whisper. "Let's see what we have." Upton's hand is steady as he slowly turns the polished wooden knob of the rheostat. A tiny, almost imperceptible current begins to flow through the wires, into the bulb and towards the delicate carbon filament. For a heart-stopping second, nothing happens. The filament remains a thin black line. The silence in the room deepens. The shared, unspoken fear is that it will simply do nothing, or worse, that it will break. Another silent failure. And then, it happens. A faint, deep red glow begins to emanate from the heart of the horseshoe. It is no brighter than a dying ember in a fireplace, a barely visible blush of color. A collective, gentle gasp ripples through the small group of men. It is alive. Upton continues to turn the knob, ever so slowly, increasing the current. The red deepens, becoming a vibrant cherry red. It is a beautiful warm light, the color of a sunset. It is not yet bright, but it is steady. It does not flicker. It does not waver. It simply is. The men lean in closer, their faces illuminated by this strange, new light. They are mesmerized. They have seen incandescence before, in fleeting brilliant flashes from their platinum experiments. But this is different. This light is calm. It is gentle. It feels friendly. More, Edison says, his voice still quiet, but now laced with a thread of excitement. The knob turns again. The cherry red begins to shift, to brighten, to transform. It blossoms into a brilliant golden orange. The light now pushes back the shadows in the room, painting the walls and the faces of the onlookers in a warm, honeyed hue. It is brighter than any candle, more pleasant than the harsh glare of a gas lamp. The delicate filament, that fragile sliver of carbon, is holding. It is withstanding the heat, turning the invisible flow of electricity into a steady, beautiful, visible light. There are quiet smiles now, nods of disbelief and wonder. Charles Batchelor, the practical, stoic mechanic, has a single tear tracing a path through the grime on his cheek. He does not wipe it away. He is staring at the bulb, at this impossible thing they have made, and he is seeing not just a light, but a new world. Edison, however, remains intensely focused. His scientific mind is still at work. Keep an eye on the clock, he instructs. Note the time. This is not just about creating light. It is about creating a light that lasts, a light that can be trusted. The hours begin to crawl by. The men do not leave the laboratory. They pull up stools and chairs, their eyes fixed on the glowing bulb. They speak in hushed tones, as if in a sacred space. They talk about the journey, the endless failures, the moments of despair. They recall the jokes they told to keep their spirits up, the terrible coffee they brewed at 3 in the morning. Each man in that room shares a bond that will never be broken. They are the first humans to witness this, the first to live in a room illuminated by a truly practical domestic electric light. As the morning wears on, the sun rises outside, flooding the laboratory with its bright natural light. But the small man-made sun on the workbench continues to glow, holding its own against the daylight. It is a quiet, defiant statement. The night no longer has a monopoly on darkness. They continue to push it. Edison, ever the experimenter, wants to know its limits. "A little more, Francis," he says. Upton nudges the rheostat. The golden orange light intensifies, shifting towards a brilliant, clean and beautiful white. It is the color of daylight. It is the light he saw in his mind all those years ago, a captured piece of the sun. The filament glows so brightly it is almost difficult to look at, yet it does not break. It is a miracle of physics and persistence, a testament to the power of a high-resistance filament in a near-perfect vacuum. 1 hour passes, then 2, 5 hours, 10. The sun reaches its zenith and begins its long, slow descent towards the western horizon. As dusk begins to settle outside, the little bulb on the workbench becomes the primary source of light in the room. It seems to grow in confidence, its glow more profound, more significant in the gathering twilight. It is no longer just an experiment. It is a new master of the night. 13 hours, 14. The men are exhausted but exhilarated. They have not slept, they have barely eaten. They are running on pure adrenaline and a sense of awe. Finally, after more than 13.5 hours of continuous, steady, unwavering light, Edison decides the test is a success. He knows they can make it last even longer. This is the proof. This is the moment. He looks at the bulb, at the steady, reassuring glow that has filled the room and their hearts for so long. There is no grand explosion, no wild cheering. There is only a deep, profound, and soulful sense of fulfillment. He reaches out and, with a gentle turn of a knob, he cuts the power. The light vanishes. The filament, in an instant, returns to being a simple dark thread. The laboratory is plunged back into the familiar flickering gloom of the old gas lamps, and in that moment of sudden contrast, they all feel it. They understand, in a way no one else in the world yet can, what has just happened. The world has changed. The very nature of night and day has been fundamentally, irrevocably altered. Edison looks at his team, and a slow, wide smile spreads across his face. It is a smile of pure, unadulterated joy. Not the joy of a businessman who has created a profitable product, but the joy of an artist who has completed his masterpiece. The joy of a dreamer who has seen his dream made real. The quiet, emotional climax is not a shout of eureka, but a shared, silent understanding in a suddenly darkened room. They have done it. They have captured the light, and the world would never, ever be the same again. The quiet aftermath of that successful experiment is not one of rest, but of renewed, joyful purpose. The single glowing bulb was not the end of a journey, but the beginning of a new monumental one. One light was a miracle. But Edison's dream was not for a single miracle in a laboratory. It was for a world filled with light. He needed to create not just the bulb, but the entire system to support it, the generators or dynamos to create the electricity, the wiring to transport it safely into homes, the switches, the fuses, the sockets. He had to invent the entire ecosystem of light. The first humble successes were shared with the world. On New Year's Eve, 1879, just a few months after that first long test, Edison gave a public demonstration. He strung wires through the trees and around the buildings of Menlo Park, hanging dozens of his new incandescent lamps. Thousands of people came on special commission trains, drawn by curiosity and skepticism. As darkness fell, a switch was thrown, and suddenly the night was banished. A soft, steady, golden light filled the streets. It was not the harsh, sputtering glare of arc lamps, but a gentle, distributed glow. People stared in silent wonder. They described it as a fairyland. It was a magic, but it was a safe, controllable, clean magic. It was the future, illuminated for all to see. This was the dawn of a new era, born not in a flash, but in a soft, steady and welcoming glow. The legacy of that fragile carbonized thread began to spread, slowly at first, and then with unstoppable momentum. In 1882, Edison opened the Pearl Street Station in New York City, the world's first central power plant. It served a small 1 square mile area of lower Manhattan, powering the lights in the offices of J.P. Morgan and the New York Times. It was a humble beginning, but it was the template for the modern world. Let us zoom out now, gently, like a camera pulling back from that small, bustling corner of New York. Let us watch as the invention of that patient, determined man quietly and profoundly reshapes the very fabric of human life with reliable, safe, and affordable light. The day no longer ended with the setting of the sun. The hours of the evening, once lost to darkness or the dim, frustrating flicker of a candle, were now reclaimed. Factories could operate safely through the night, transforming industry and the nature of work. But more importantly, life inside the home was revolutionized. Children could now read and study in the evenings. Their futures brightened literally and metaphorically. Families could gather, their faces illuminated by a steady, warm glow, sharing stories and games without straining their eyes. The home became a brighter, safer, more vibrant place. The fear of the deep, profound darkness, a fear that had haunted humanity since the dawn of time, began to recede. The monsters that lurked in the flickering shadows were banished by the simple, steady glow of a wire in a bottle. The world became a safer place. Streets that were once treacherous, shadowy passages became well-lit avenues, reducing crime and encouraging a vibrant nightlife. Theaters, restaurants, and shops could stay open later, transforming the social and economic landscape of cities. The quiet domestic light that Edison had dreamed of for his mother's sick room had become the lifeblood of the modern 24-hour world. And what of the dreamer himself? Let us return to him one last time. Imagine Thomas Edison many years later, an old man with white hair and eyes that have seen the world change in ways he could have only dreamed of. He is sitting on the porch of his home, Glenmont, in West Orange, New Jersey. It is a warm summer evening, and the sky is a deep velvety blue, studded with the distant, cold light of the stars. But all around him, the world is aglow with a different kind of star. Through the trees he can see the lights of neighboring houses, each one a small, warm beacon of life and activity. A string of electric street lights casts a gentle, steady illumination down the road. In the distance, the entire horizon is lit with the soft, collective glow of the city. His light, he is not thinking of the patents, the fortune or the fame. His mind, in this quiet, reflective moment, travels back past the years of struggle and refinement, past the noisy, bustling workshop, past the moment of triumph. He travels back to a small, dark room in which he sees a winter storm raging outside. He sees a single pathetic oil lamp, its flame flickering and dancing, casting fearful shadows on the walls. And he sees his mother's face, pale and weary in the unsteady light. He remembers the deep aching feeling in his chest, the boy's desperate wish for a better kind of light, a clean, safe and constant light, a light that could offer comfort and banish fear. He looks out at the world he helped to create, a world saturated with the light that was born from that simple, heartfelt wish. A quiet smile touches his lips. The journey was long, the failures were many, but the promise he made to himself in the darkness of that long ago night had been kept. He had captured a piece of the sun, not just for his mother, but for everyone. He had brought the world out of the shadows and into the light. And so, my dear friend, as our story comes to a close, let the lesson of this quiet, patient journey settle deep within you. Every great creation, every monumental change in the world begins as a small, quiet spark, a simple human desire to make things better, to bring comfort, to banish the darkness. The path to achieving that dream is often long and filled with moments of doubt and failure. But each failure is just a lesson. Each step, no matter how small, is progress. Just like Edison and his team worked tirelessly to create a light for the world, your body is now working to create a state of deep, restorative rest for you. Allow it to do its work. Let go of the need to strive. Surrender to the gentle, steady process of sleep. The world is quiet now. The great inventions have been made. There is nothing left for you to do but to drift into your own world of dreams. A world where your own sparks of inspiration can grow, where your own ideas can take flight. May your rest be as deep and as peaceful as the silence in that laboratory after the first successful test. May your dreams be as bright and as beautiful as that first, steady, magical glow. Thank you for joining us on Sleep Documentary TV. Sleep well, dream deeply, and may your night be filled with a gentle, peaceful light.